Welcome back to Cheap Pop, everybody. This is Derek Kirby, joined today by Josh from the Sports Fury. We have a new monster mash to cover here. Little bit of kaiju fun, although Legendary likes to call it Titans. That's not near as exciting to me. But we've got Godzilla vs. Kong that we're going to be discussing today. Josh, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much, DDP, for having me on, man, to talk some King Kong versus Godzilla. Can't wait for the movie to come out. I'm so excited for this. I'm loving the universe that these films are taking place in. I'm excited to talk about it, dude. Get
Yeah.
right to it. Yeah.
So yeah, this is the second time they've made this movie. Essentially, the original was 1962.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, King Kong vs. Godzilla was the title there,
Mm-hmm.
and that's an interesting one because Godzilla was heavily inspired by King Kong, obviously the OG of big monster flicks.
Sir.
And in that, the Godzilla, when they got the right, Toho, who has the rights to Godzilla, they made that film. They were so what's the word I'm looking for here? Basically, just like blown away that they were actually granted the rights to use the Kong character. They already held him in such high esteem and respect
Mm-hmm.
that they basically decided, like, all right, well, we're not going to have like a winner in the way of like a fatality or anything like that, but for the indication of like who maybe won, we're totally fine with it referencing King Kong. And despite the urban legend, there is no Japanese cut with Godzilla winning. That's an old urban legend that in
Really?
Japan
Okay.
Godzilla wins the fight. That is not the case, even though my young childhood self would very much like to believe it. I remember renting movies at different blockbusters, hoping it was that cut, and every time it wasn't, I was so pissed. And you'd think I'd be smart enough just to like fast forward to the end at least.
Right.
No, I watched the whole movie just expecting like that one last clip to be different, and it never was.
Never
So
came.
disappointed. But yeah, so they're rebooting this. This is the Legendary universe, although this is in collaboration with Warner Brothers, who I think has the rights to King Kong.
Yeah.
And this is based on the 2014 Godzilla reboot. Thank God they've never done anything else with the '98 Godzilla. I know you're not. You're a Godzilla fan. You like the Legendary films, but have you seen many, if at all, of the Japanese Godzilla films?
No, I'm not too
Okay.
familiar with that at all. My first introduction to Godzilla was that Godzilla 1998 movie.
Poor bastard. No wonder
And
you like
that
King Kong more.
with Matthew Broderick, that was awful.
That's a lot of fish.
Yeah, it was that was terrible, man. But I know, of course, the legend of Godzilla and what he means to cinema and the importance of it. And I have a whole lot of respect for Godzilla. But when they rebooted the movie in 2014, watching it with Bryan Cranston, oh man, I loved it. It was fantastic. I thought it was great.
Yeah. Yeah, I very much I like the American Godzilla films. I watched the era that I watched of Godzilla films as a kid. It's B movie schlock, but the Showa era, like the original 1954 Godzilla, is an allegory for atomic war.
Mhm.
Very dark, very haunting. And obviously with Godzilla, its revolutionary thing was the suitmation, wherein they actually had, rather than miniatures,
Suit.
I mean they had miniatures, but rather than like the claymation stop motion stuff of like King Kong, the original there,
Yeah.
they actually threw a guy in a suit that weighed like 150 pounds by itself. Pretty much in the later films were just strapping explosives to him for the kaiju fights, just utter insanity.
It's great. That would never
And
fly today, right? No
yeah,
way.
yeah. So, oh yeah, there's all kinds of takes. You sometimes the takes left in the movies, you see the suit catching fire, and you're like, there's a human being in there.
Jesus.
Yeah, that deserves a real lifetime achievement award at the very least. But yeah, so that's what I grew up on. But after the first movie was so dark, it was so successful because in the original film, Godzilla actually dies. The oxygen destroyer kills him, literally disintegrates to nothing, and the whole thing was not supposed to be a
Ooh.
series, but
Mm.
it was so big they literally rushed, I think, barely a year later out a sequel where another Godzilla shows up. And from that point on, this is supposed to be the Godzilla that you're tracking through the Japan series. Although each era kind of had its own different variation. So the Showa era I mentioned was that original in 1954 through
Yeah.
I think 1975. And through there, Godzilla went through a lot of really weird changes where it's kind of like 1960s Batman.
Right.
He's He's basically fighting crime, more or less, like defender of Earth, friend to children, or whatever. Like I know that's the Gamera thing, another kaiju, but
Block.
that's kind of what they took him at, and it's all kinds of just cheesy, bad effects and B movie schlock. But
Hmm.
that's what I grew up on for Godzilla movies, so I had a soft spot for him.
Oh, cool.
They then rebooted it in 1984 with the Heisei era, which returned him to those dark roots where he is just this vengeful destroyer of worlds and all of that. And that's kind of the iconic look for Godzilla people best know as the Heisei era.
Right.
And in that movie as well, it's interesting. They took the 1954 original and basically treated the 1984 reboot as a sequel to that. So ignored everything else from the Showa era and basically said, no, this one happened, but now we're going to say 30 years later he basically has shown up again, and it is a different one, but it's 30 years later, and so they kept that continuity, which was kind of interesting. And I think the Millennium series did that as well. It's only Shin Godzilla, which is like a completely self-contained flick, that didn't do that. By the way, sometime you should check out Shin Godzilla because that is all kinds of batshit crazy, like
Really?
in an awesome way.
Mm.
That is, I know you're not an anime fan, but one of the most influential anime series, Neon Genesis Evangelion, is just it's made by that guy who made that, and it's just this incredibly deep symbolic. There's like religious undertones and symbology, psychoanalytical stuff, like all kinds of like really deep. Like you watch it and you're like, I don't know what I watched,
Okay.
but I was hooked every step of the way. And then as you start peeling back layers, you're like, this is amazing. Like that was my takeaway from it. So he made Shin Godzilla, which was awesome, but that one's self-contained from the rest of the series.
How many Godzilla movies do you think there has?
Oh Jesus. Am I including the
Would you
American ones or just Japan?
Uh, all of them, American and Japan, all together.
It's
Is it
it's
more than a couple of dozen?
yeah, it's probably like 30.
Whew.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think Japan was like 23 or 24.
Good
And
God.
then, I mean, you know, if that's the case, then it'd be like 25 probably, because there was the 98, and now this is the third of the
Mhm.
American new series. So,
Wow.
yeah, so Godzilla's had some highs and lows for
Mhm.
sure. I have a soft spot for the Showa era, but it's one of those things that if you were ever just watching a movie like with the intention of just laughing your ass off and getting drunk,
Yeah.
Showa era is your thing.
Go era.
Yeah,
Now,
so
how do these movies hold up with those? Like, are they like
yeah,
reciprocal
so
to that? Like,
so
do people who are like you who are
uh-huh.
fans of those old school Godzilla, like, how do you guys think about this new reboots movies?
I mean, I can only really speak for myself. I do enjoy them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I enjoyed watching them enough to like go to the theater. I go to the theater. I mean, these days not at all because who does? But I go to the movies every now and then. But I definitely made a point of going to see those Godzilla films, the American ones. The first ones, my frustration was Bryan Cranston is so damn good, and he's at the absolute height of his popularity, and they kill him off in the first act, and you're just like, you're gonna leave me
Always,
with freaking
yeah,
Quicksilver or
yeah,
whatever from, like, even Marvel didn't want him. They killed him in his movie.
yeah. That's a good point. No, I thought
So
the same thing too. I liked it a whole lot. I just wish it was Bryan Cranston who was the main
yes, and that's
protagonist.
how the trailers presented it.
Right.
That was frustrating to people too.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact about I mentioned Quicksilver. So I'm trying to remember his name. It's Taylor something, but he and Elizabeth Olsen,
Uh-huh.
Scarlet Witch,
Yeah.
same year, back to back films. They did the Avengers: Age of Ultron, where they're brother and sister, and then
Oh yeah.
Godzilla, where they are a couple and they are heavy making out in the first scene. And you're like,
I
this is
totally
kind of
forgot.
weird.
Yeah, I totally forgot that he was his her brother. Wow. In the,
Yeah,
oh,
in
that's
Avengers,
right.
that's her twin brother, and then in Godzilla, their boyfriend girlfriend. I don't think they're even engaged, but
Mm.
yeah, interesting kind of development there. I remember sitting down in the theater and I was like, wait, they're together, and then it like cuts to them making out or something. I was like, that's kind of weird. Having like the last movie I think I saw was Ultron at that point, and I was like, that's kind of weird, but all right. So
I didn't even think about that. That's weird. Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, I liked the first Godzilla. I understand, like, people said, like, there wasn't enough Godzilla in it in the 2014 one.
Right.
Totally agree. I think the reason that happens is because they should have known, like, the director they picked did a less is more approach to his indie monster flick.
Right.
And so that's what he was going to do with Godzilla. And as a result, the last 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is with the Muto fights, epic. Absolutely epic. Now, it's not without its flaws. The first two Godzilla movies put most everything in pitch dark and as much as possible tried to kick up smoke, obscure the effects however they needed to. Even though the effects were good enough, they didn't really need to hide them.
Right.
So that's one thing. Like, you don't always see a whole lot, but they know how to build towards something. Like the first time he charges up the atomic breath and it's going up his dorsal fins up the back, and you're just like, oh shit! Like,
Yeah.
they know how to do those moments. I thought they took the feedback they got in King of the Monsters from that film, and they're like, oh, okay, they wanted more monsters and they wanted a lot of action. We're going to throw a shit ton of monsters at you and a shit ton of action. In fact, we're going to go all the way to Godzilla's biggest rival, King Ghidorah, and we're going to play literally our trump card immediately on that.
Right.
And it's good, but it feels like fan service the movie to me. And I mentioned earlier in the first film, Godzilla's killed by an oxygen destroyer.
Yeah.
They introduced that, no build up, no hint, just introduce it,
Right.
detonate it, and it does nothing.
Yeah,
Like,
when you mentioned that, I was like, wait a minute, that was in King of the Monsters, and that killed the original Godzilla.
dissolved
big
it to
deal.
nothing.
Wow.
Not even bones, yeah.
Hmm.
And yeah, like that was the whole thing. Like, the scientist in that original movie who created it, he doesn't want the world to know about it because he realizes that, like, it's going to be like the next step in weapons. And like,
Right.
the whole point, again, it's an allegory for nuclear war. So
Yeah.
having lived in Japan and gone through everything with World War II and the nukes and all of that, he understands that burden. So he doesn't want to use it. And it's only after like days of Godzilla just ransacking the city, burning buildings to the ground. You get all these just horroring scenes with like orphaned children screaming and crying for parents that are dead. Like, it's heavy stuff. And it actually had a message, which is then weird when you go like two films later and it's like Godzilla dancing and like drop kicking opponents and stuff. But it had that. So he, in the end, when they go under to use it, they finally, he tells someone about it. They tell the military because they're like desperate and they can't keep watching Godzilla destroy the city. They finally convince him to use it. He goes down with it. He's destroyed his plans. He's the only one who knows how to do it. And he cuts his oxygen line at the bottom of the ocean with Godzilla to detonate it so that no one can ever use it again. Like, it's that type of thing that he goes down with his invention, basically, to protect the world, not just from Godzilla, but from the destruction his discovery, his weapon can create.
Yeah.
So it had a use and it had weight behind it. And that's why in King of the Monsters, when they said oxygen destroyer, I like looked to my wife and I was like, I know you don't know what this means, but there's no way that's what they said it is. And then they detonate it, and like, it's anticlimactic. In that movie, anything in the vicinity dissolves to bones, and then the bones dissolve away.
Right.
Like, including Godzilla. And this is just like, oh, some fish float to the top. King Ghidorah is not even hurt by it because he's not from Earth. So how could something that destroys oxygen kill him? I'm like, then what the fuck is he breathing? Like, what sense does that make? How is King Ghidorah not hurt by something that destroys oxygen?
Oh, okay. So that makes sense. That because I know a lot of the like people who are huge fans of all the movies and of Godzilla were not too high on King of the Monsters. And yeah, so this is a big deal, a major deal in the old Godzilla, and here it's kind of like a throwaway and even well
fan service the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
and then Godzilla, he's hurt by it, but the way to save him is to nuke him. Like, I get that the Heisei era Godzilla did literally like feed off of radiation,
right?
But it's still kind of a weird way that they get there. And then the form he uses to beat King Ghidorah is again a kind of reimagining of a form he gets at the end of the Heisei series. And that one, because throughout the Heisei series, because he's been feeding on so much nuclear energy, he's literally going to like melt down, and like the explosion from it, because he is so massive and has taken on so much radiation over the years, they fear that it might actually like literally destroy the planet. Like that's what they're building towards at the end of that. He's melting down, and the military's now trying to like literally like freeze him or something to prevent the meltdown.
Right.
And they just go right into it like, oh, nuke supercharges him, he burns it off, and it's fine. So like they went through several iconic things in the Godzilla lore. They played so many major cards, and they didn't feel like they really did. It felt like, oh, this was popular. Oh, fans liked this. Throw this out there. But they didn't really develop or build anything. It just kind of is there.
Yeah.
So that was my thoughts on that. The action, cool. And it still had a lot of scenes and fights at dark and night. I love, for the people who are able to see the screen here in OBS, as you see, this has learned yet another lesson. Almost everything we see in the trailer is in beautiful daylight. The effects look gorgeous. And this looks awesome. Even though they had to grow King Kong significantly, even again, just in comparing the 2017 King, or was that when Kong Skull Island came out, 2017? Yeah. I believe it is. So even that King Kong had to get drastically increased in size. King Kong, the original, was like 25 feet. The original Godzilla was 40 feet.
Right.
And just like the King Kong vs. Godzilla, they're like, oh, we need to make him bigger. So in that case, I think they just literally acted like, no, they were always the same height. It's just kind of dumb. But if you suspend disbelief on that and you just think like, all right, make them even playing field, at least with regard to size, fighting, who wins? That's what fans want to see. And so I don't know how they would follow up a Godzilla series from here. Like, I know, but like, two of the biggest trump cards you could have pulled, you've pulled now in back-to-back movies between King Ghidorah and King Kong. Even though that one's a spinoff. It's not like in that it happened during the Heisei era. It's not really part of it, I would say.
Right. It's like a sidebar.
Yeah. So it's interesting, but I actually have some theories on this. I know you have theories. So what I think we should do, and we'll try and synchronize this here, because when we screen share, Josh's picture goes itty fucking bitty.
Yep.
We're going to watch the trailer here, and we'll sync up so that we're finishing the trailer about the same time, and then we'll give our thoughts. I'll let you go first since I've been hogging all the talking time thus far, and we'll give our thoughts on it and kind of supporting evidence and go from there.
All right, cool. So we want to do like a countdown, 3, 2, 1, play?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So ready when you are. 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. Look at all this destruction. Oh, look at that.
This trailer loves the blend of blue and orange.
Right. Oh yeah. The contrast. King Kong is orange. Godzilla is blue. I like how the logo right there is kind of metallic. You notice that?
The world needs him to stop what's coming. And this child.
So I want to know more about this chick right here, this little girl. Is she
I just
like,
think they didn't want Naomi Watts doing the King Kong kidnapping white women thing.
Is she like one of the tribe people on Skull Island, or?
The character and actress is deaf. She's not from Skull Island, like the movie Kong Skull Island.
Okay. He's got a connection with her.
Yeah, I don't know if it's psychic or if it's just like understand each other.
Yeah. So how Godzilla knew King Kong was coming. Goes right for him.
I like how King Kong's face is for a second even like, oh shit.
Yep. He wasn't ready for that.
What I love is the angles of these shots too.
Yeah, I like how it's like as if you were there.
It
like
gives you scale.
A handheld camera and just it goes to the wide shot, pops that dude.
It's interesting that in the trailer all of the offense goes to Kong. Every single bit.
Yeah. That is true. Which tells me like
it's Godzilla vs. Kong is the title, and yet Kong gets all the offense.
Right.
That could be something where they're just trying to literally drum up reaction and frustration among Godzilla fans.
Right.
And it works. Maybe they'll release another trailer where it's the opposite, you know?
And build up King Kong a little bit, because I think a lot of people, like the casual fan, will probably think, oh, well, Godzilla's gonna beat King Kong, right? King Kong match up with Godzilla. Oh, let's build that up here. I like how we're probably going to see other Titans as well. We saw Godzilla kind of like toss up one of those dudes. Oh, I with that. With the fucking axe coming down.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
So, trailer wrapped up on my end. Is it wrapped up on yours?
Yeah, it's done.
Okay.
It's done.
Crispy, fresh.
It's done. So yeah, like you were saying, in this trailer, it's the first trailer.
Yep.
And Godzilla is getting his butt kicked by King Kong, and I think they want just convey to the audience like this is going to be a real fight. And I think the studio said too that there's going to be a definitive winner. They're not gonna. What they're not gonna do is gonna be like, oh well, they're gonna fight a little bit, and then they're gonna team up and fight some like a bigger bad or something like that. No, they're saying there's gonna be a definitive winner between Godzilla and King Kong in this movie, and I love that.
So there's a few things. The director definitely said that in the original King Kong vs. Godzilla, he was frustrated watching it as a kid. It felt like unfulfilling because they do lock up, roll into the sea, and then you see King Kong swimming back to Skull Island, but you don't see Godzilla. My point to that was always Godzilla lives in the ocean. Where's he going to go? Why would he come back to the surface if they're separating anyway?
True.
So I always said it was a draw, but that's also because I didn't want my guy to lose. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I definitely think he's going to have a definitive winner, but there's misdirection here. Like, there's absolute misdirection, and what I'm going to do here, I'm going to pull up the trailer again, and I'm going to direct you to timestamp since, again, the screen share is stupid on this. So let me pull it up here. So my theory, and you kind of referenced it as well before I get into the timestamp, it's a misdirection. You will get Godzilla fighting King Kong, but this is not solely Godzilla versus King Kong. They have effectively Batman v Superman this shit. Mm-hmm. It's the equivalent of Godzilla standing over Kong, beating the shit out of him, about to deliver a death blow, and then King Kong's like, "You're killing Mothra!"
Oh, God.
And Godzilla's like, "Why did you say that name?"
Mothra.
That's the equivalent of what we're working toward. But it's not literally that, but it is Batman v Superman in that there is a swerve. Now, Batman v Superman fucked up and threw it in the trailer and let the world see Doomsday.
Right.
They're hiding this one.
Yes, they are.
In Godzilla fighting King Kong, you have Mecha Godzilla.
Mecha Godzilla, yeah.
The next, as I talked about them playing all their trump cards.
Right.
If you've gone through Ghidorah, King Kong, and Mecha Godzilla, you've got fuck all left. That's not true, but they're going to have to go back to originals. And maybe that's their plan anyway. Muto was original. Right. So you can do it and be engaging with it and interesting, but here is where the first thing I would point to in the trailer.
Okay.
And I'm going to pull that back here. All right, so at the very beginning, we have the destruction, and at 3-second mark, right off the bat, you see the people hurrying into the subway. Yes. The face high above, what do you see?
I see a metallic version of Godzilla.
Yep. You got a metal Godzilla face with glowing red in the neck.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, they're showing you what it is.
Right.
They're hoping you don't see it. Mm-hmm. Then you have, and here's further context too. In the second Mechagodzilla movie in the Showa era, and the logos, by the way, you mentioned them looking metallic and glitchy. Why would Godzilla vs. King Kong have that?
Exactly.
In the second Mechagodzilla movie of the Showa era, he actually impersonates Godzilla. He's wearing like a Godzilla suit.
Yeah, he's able to look just like him, like in the flesh, right?
It's literally just another Godzilla suit the other actor's wearing. And he's fucking up Godzilla's like ally kaiju and all of that, like ripping their jaws apart, like savage shit. And then when he comes across actual Godzilla in the fight, the suit gets torn. You see metallic underneath, and then he basically drops the act, and you see, oh, it was Mecha Godzilla the whole time. That's what's happening here and I've got all kinds of other points to point to as well. Let me skip ahead just a little bit. Yeah, I hope the little girl, because she's a new inclusion. They did bring in actors and all of that from not just King of the Monsters, but also Kong Skull Island. I'm hoping she's not a huge part of it, because I just am not ready for that to distract from this fight. Even if it is Mechagodzilla getting most of the fighting against Kong, it's too epic.
Right.
So you see Godzilla wrecking the ships and everything around the 1 minute mark in the trailer. He swims through the one. Literally is the opposite of what we saw in the first Godzilla 2014 flick, where he dipped under at the last second to avoid the boat.
Yeah.
Godzilla has, through 2 movies, been built up as the hero, that he would protect people. Literally going as far as to, like, as he heads back to the San Francisco Bay in the first movie, basically smiling and waving to the crowd, cheering him on. And they're like, hero of San Francisco, friend to man? Like, that's what the fucking news headline says. Like, so lame, so cheesy. But so this reversal where he's literally trying to destroy the world doesn't even make sense, where he's killing people. And it's because it's, again, not him. It's the same playing card as the Mechagodzilla thing. Another thing here, when he jumps up at the roughly 1 minute 20 second thing. Okay, so he lands at like 120. His hand shoots up. And when it hits, watch around his hands. You get a flicker of blue static around his hands. Why would you have that if it's Godzilla?
Right.
Why is that? Why is that an explosion you get slamming into concrete and planes? Also, his mouth, when he's basically rearing up to roar, you see almost like a molten fire dripping out of his mouth. Again, a weird effect for Godzilla that we have not seen to this point. This year, as it's promoting the movie, the text flying by, this year, blah, blah, blah. One will fall, blah, blah, blah. Why is, again, metallic texture? Why? It's all these ways that they're almost doing it too, like, they literally are. They're doing it too much.
Yes.
It's making it obvious where they're going. Now, I think Godzilla and Kong will fight in this movie, but I think it's going to be a kind of mistaken identity sort of thing where Kong will have already clashed with Mechagodzilla, and then when he sees
a real Godzilla,
he'll just attack him, and Godzilla's like, "Whoa, I guess I'm fighting you now. I don't know what's going on here." There's another spot in here I wanted to call out. Okay, at 1 minute 42 seconds, the background behind this guy in the control panel room.
Yeah. So
what do you see on the screen?
So what you're seeing behind him is you're seeing Mechagodzilla. You clearly see Godzilla and what they created, and it says systems charge.
Yep.
This is the control room where they are controlling Mechagodzilla.
Yeah. And this character, this actor, not the actor himself, the character is the son of Shin Watanabe, who, and I probably just butchered the shit out of that name,
who sacrificed himself in King of the Monsters.
Yes, and was in the first 2014 film as well. It's in the canon, it's his son. So whether or not there's like a distance thing or something like that where they fell out or something, and now he's decided he wants to kill Godzilla, whether for, I don't know why his plan would be to attack Kong. Maybe, well, okay, I'll tell you the next level I have to Mechagodzilla after I run through these steps.
Okay.
So you get more destruction here. I think the Kong weapon is really interesting, mostly because it's just another thing that they're just making up as they go.
Right.
But in this case, it is I believe, and you'll see it in that final stance, and I'll tell you exactly where to pause it here in a second. I think it's a dorsal fin from Godzilla, and that's why it can hold the charge of the radiation, because he doesn't just block the shot at the end.
No,
he literally is absorbing it.
The axe is absorbing the power.
Yep.
Because once the ray hits it, he picks it, he rises it up above his head, and it's following the axe. So he's clearly absorbing that power.
Yep. And so when he's jumping, and it's already glowing before the beam even hits at 216, it's already glowing before it hits.
Yep.
I think that's a Godzilla dorsal fin, because we know in the 2014 one there was a skeleton of another Godzilla, and I think again that's another little nod to the original, even though it didn't dissolve and it's not in the sea. I think that's a nod to that there was a previous Godzilla that did die.
Right.
And I think that's where the dorsal fin comes from, and because it's the same species, it can absorb, and that's why that's his desperation weapon against Godzilla in this case.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he delivers the blow on Godzilla. You get the metallic logo there at the end. Again, when it's saying one will fall, it's in that same metallic texture. I think that's their cop-out for it being Mechagodzilla that falls.
So when King Kong defeats Godzilla, it ain't going to be the real Godzilla.
I think that they're going to have to team up, even though I know you were saying earlier you didn't think that's what they was going to do. I think it's going to be their doomsday. That in Tokyo, when King Kong delivers that blow, it will either shatter the illusion or whatever of Mechagodzilla, whether it's like reflective mirrors that you just see that, or it's like literally a suit of some kind reflecting a different image. I think that'll be the moment, like in the original Mechagodzilla movie I referenced, where the suit is damaged, the jig is up, and then around that time you're gonna have actual Godzilla come into the fray as well. And I think the trailer's trying to kind of hide that, but it's a mixed bag. Now here's where I think Mechagodzilla came from.
Yeah.
I referenced the bones of the original Godzilla, where I think this same dorsal fin came from that Kong is using for the weapon. The end credit scene for the King of the Monsters was a King Ghidorah head being found.
By
Again,
Apex.
yes, again, Batman v Superman. It's literally how they redid Doomsday's origin, where it was like General Zod's DNA or blood or something like that.
That was
fused.
That was made to use Doomsday, right?
Same thing.
Yeah, Apex now has the head of King Ghidorah. They have the remains of old Godzilla you said that they found at the in the 2014 Godzilla movie.
Yep.
They're gonna use those two together to form Mechagodzilla.
And in the Millennium series, the redone origin of Mechagodzilla was that he was built on the bones of the original Godzilla. Even though we know in the movie those dissolved, they just kind of said like, no, they didn't. So they built the armor of Mechagodzilla over the original bones. In fact, they went a step further, where like the original soul of that Godzilla was still in it, and at times the people trying to pilot Mechagodzilla remotely couldn't control it. Like its eyes would turn blood red as it was like basically the original soul of that Godzilla taking over, and then you'd have like basically two Godzillas fighting. It's Japanese movies. That's just kind of the thing they do.
Yeah.
So I think this is the same thing. The bones of that Godzilla with for a primitive type AI, a King Ghidorah brain, and just like King Ghidorah does, just destroy everything, just absolutely ravage. And I think it just goes rogue. I think that's why the humans are fighting it. It's not just I don't think it's necessarily under the control of like the eco-terrorist type people. I think it's that it's literally gone rogue at this point because King Ghidorah can't be controlled that way.
Right.
So I think that's what they're going to build towards is the axe blow reveals it's Mechagodzilla for certain. And the one will fall is going to be Mechagodzilla. That's why the textures are what they are. And Godzilla and King Kong are going to have to team up in order to take down Mechagodzilla.
When do you think the real Godzilla shows up in this movie? In the last act of the film?
Yeah, no, I don't think it's the last act because I think that King Kong and real Godzilla will clash.
They will clash. Yeah.
I think they will. I think they are, because if they never fought, this would be complete false marketing, right?
Right.
I think they will fight, and it'll be like skirmishes they have, kind of like in King of the Monsters. Godzilla and Ghidorah fought like 3 or 4 times, and something would happen where someone would get the advantage, or they'd get separated, or whatever. Something like that will happen again, and maybe based on that, you'll say like, oh, maybe it does work this way. Because one angle I considered, they say in the trailer they're fighting for the title of king. Well, Godzilla just got crowned King of the Monsters. Yep. King Kong's name is King Kong, but it was Kong Skull Island, and they only refer to him as Kong here. So is this a way of them trying to kind of anoint him, crown him with that title? That would be very controversial among Godzilla fans, because Godzilla has always been the king of the monsters. And I think they would take that as sort of like a, whoa, what? But yeah, I don't know. That's what I was speculating on in my initial trailer reaction with that. I think that it'll probably be something where this movie's going to do more with that Hollow Earth theory they introduced, which I actually think is a brilliant concept.
Yeah, I think so too. Like, another thing they're going to answer in this movie is where was Kong at during the events of the King of the Monsters?
Yep.
You know, and I think he will probably be in one of these places within the Hollow Earth, where the Hollow Earth tunnels go through. He probably won't even have been on Skull Island during the events of that.
Right. So, yeah, I think that's the direction that we're headed. I think it's going to be a misdirection. You'll get them fighting. You might even get one of them certainly no fatality, no one falling type thing. You might get something where in the one fight they do have, one of them gets the advantage over the other, and based on that, the director's like, "Oh, see, a definitive winner. Kong won the fight," or "Oh, see, they actually did have a brief fight." And Godzilla got the advantage with his atomic breath because he's a radioactive fire dragon of death, and King Kong's just a giant ape.
Right.
King Kong's hand got cut by a helicopter propeller in Skull Island, and yet we're supposed to believe that Godzilla, who's literally taken a planet falling on his face in Japan and just shook it off like it was nothing, and then fought King Ghidorah like it's nothing.
Man,
One of these things is not like the other.
right.
One of these things is a big dumb ape.
But King Kong, man, that's my boy right there, man. I'm Team Kong. I want to see him victorious. I want to see him kick Godzilla's ass. I think he should kick Godzilla's ass. I love King Kong, man, because one, he's empathetic. Like he's a mammal, you know. You see emotions into his eyes. That's not what you get out of
He's
Godzilla.
a horn dog that kidnaps women in every iteration.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's just misunderstood, you know,
Yes,
and that makes for a good character in movies.
Sure.
Misunderstood character who's really got a big heart. He really means well. He's just he's just misunderstood. And also, one thing I like about Godzilla, about King Kong over Godzilla, is that I feel like he can strategize. He can maneuver a lot better than Godzilla can. So that's what I'm going to be looking forward to and seeing this movie when he does go up against Godzilla. And and also another big important thing for me is this opposable thumbs, because with that he can wield weapons, which is what we see in the trailer. He takes that axe and he gives it to his ass in that trailer. King Kong, that's my dude. I'm Team Kong, bro.
Kong is smart, but does he have a second brain in his ass? Because Godzilla does in Japan.
Godzilla has a second brain in his ass.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing?
That's a thing. That's Heisei era.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain it, honestly. Yeah. Put his two brains together, his head brain and his ass brain. He's forming complete sentences.
Now, here's another thing I had a curiosity with this movie. What is Millie Bobby Brown? Isn't that her character's name?
That's the actress.
Not her character, but the actress. Mm-hmm. The chick from Stranger Things.
Yeah.
What is she going to be doing in this movie? Because she's going to be playing a major role in this film. She's with this other kid. They meet the other guy who looks to be a conspiracy theorist. So what are they going to be doing throughout the course of the movie? Because we're going to be cutting back to them a lot in this movie.
Yeah. I think that she's just the counter, the opposite, you know, like both of them are going to be shown as like, oh, they're actually more similar than you think. Like, I think she's going to kind of be the Godzilla equivalent of the girl that you saw for Kong. That character and actress for the Kong case is deaf. So I don't know how that's going to play in. Probably sign language is how they communicate. But yeah, I think that's the direction that's going to go. Her dad's in it as well from King of the Monsters, only now, whereas he hated Godzilla, now he's one of those people who's like, Godzilla's hurting people and we don't know why. So I think that's probably just that. They're kind of building like their kind of counterweights as far as their team, so to speak, in this crossover. But I don't know what they'll ultimately end up doing with that. You know, in this one, I talked earlier about how they had to make Kong bigger. They did the same thing in the original. In the original, they literally, in the third act, added like electricity powers to Kong. He gets shocked by lightning, and then suddenly he can like generate lightning from his fingertips, like Emperor Palpatine over here. And like he grabs Godzilla's tail and it's like shocking him. And apparently Godzilla doesn't like that. Like it hurts him. Like that's a weird thing that turns the tide in that fight. That just never made sense to me. Like it's weird. Like Showa era in general is weird. But yeah, I think the axe, while it makes sense, again, him using tools, that's something. But it's weird. I guess I think Godzilla will win a fight early on, whether it's mecha or real, and Kong will get burned just like he did. He has no answer for the atomic breath, and I think that's going to push him to go 2. And if you see, and I'm not showing it on the screen now, but there's a part in the trailer where Kong is as he's finding the bloody handprint and I believe the hollow earth,
Right.
there's a ship in the distance flying up behind him. And I think that's him being directed there somehow by the humans, because again, the humans are like, oh, he's our only chance. So like even the people believing that it's actual Godzilla just rampaging, they're turning to Kong, and that's why they bring him off Skull Island to do this. And so I think when he gets his ass kicked, again by Godzilla or Mecha, I don't know.
Now,
They're going to direct him there to go get that axe that they'll somehow know about, like the dorsal fin for the axe.
right. Yeah. Because I was thinking, like, okay, so where Kong is in this point in the trailer, he's not on Skull Island. He's
Right.
somewhere else. He's visiting an ancient place of his ancestors where his kind has fought Godzilla's kind before. Because didn't we see that as like depicted
Yeah,
in,
they
like,
say
old cave paintings and
they
stuff
even
like
make a
that?
reference to that, like the ancient war. It's true, there was an ancient war or
Right.
something.
Yeah. And that's gonna be pretty cool to see. And he's fighting some other Titan here. Do you know? Is this something that's familiar to the
Skull
old?
Island has a bunch of different creatures, but I think these are something. I'm guessing these are something unique to Hollow Earth.
Hmm.
And I don't think, because I considered like in my first video when I was thinking about it, I was like, if it's not Mecha Godzilla, if it's supposed to be actual Godzilla, he's the king of the monsters, and if
Yeah.
he's the bad guy, what is stopping him from basically directing all of those kaiju that bowed to him at the end of the last movie and saying like, all right, go kick his ass, you know?
Right.
Like think about like wrestling, like that would be the heel thing to do, but it's like it would track in the logic, like, yeah, go kick his ass and I'll go pick over what's left.
Mhm.
So I was like, is that what's happening here? Because if you want to bury Godzilla in terms of looking strong at all, having him send out all these other kaiju, Kong beating all of them, and then still beating him is definitely a way to bury him.
Right.
But yeah, again, that was before I really paid attention and was like, oh no, it's Mecha Godzilla. So
Yeah. Do you think we'll see Mothra in this movie? I know Mothra died in King of the Monsters.
it's like
I
the
think,
fifth time. It doesn't
yeah,
mean anything.
yeah, but they found like an egg, you know, that could be
Yeah.
the next Mothra.
Will we
Yep.
see her? I don't know. It's possible. Um, I don't know. I would like to see. I mean, I hesitate to bring in more kaiju. I've never been a Mothra fan. I'm just like it's a moth. I don't care.
Right.
Like
That was my
Godzilla.
thing when I was
There's
watching
movies where
King of-
Godzilla loses to Mothra, and I'm just like,
What?
he breathes fire.
Okay.
How?
If,
How?
if he can lose to Mothra, he can lose to King Kong. Because when I
King
was
Kong
watching
lost to an airplane off the Empire State Building.
when I was
Godzilla took a
watching King of the
meteor to the
Monsters,
face.
when I was watching King of the Monsters, man, Mothra was like ridiculous. That was probably like the biggest, like, I don't know about that. Like we're supposed to feel like this is like a big deal. She's called Queen of the Monsters. Is that always been true?
She's the second most popular kaiju in Japan, I think.
Mm.
But like I don't know a lot about her stuff. I only know like from the crossovers. So I don't know. I don't know about the Queen of the Monsters. That might just be something they're appending out there because I think she's like the only female kaiju. And then there's like, well, she's popular. Here you go, Queen of the Monsters.
Mm.
I don't know.
And here's
That's one where I'm out of my expertise.
Here's another thing that draws me to King Kong as opposed to Godzilla, is that it's for the same reason, I guess, that I go for Batman.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking Batman versus Superman because
Right.
man, Superman's way OP,
Mm-hmm.
and Batman's got to be clever. He's got to be more clever, more smarter, and more strategic when going up against someone like Superman. And I feel that with King Kong versus Godzilla because I know King Kong is the underdog, and Godzilla is just so OP, and that makes me want to root for King Kong so much more. You know, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying. It's not correct, but I get what you're saying.
I want him to win, man, and he should win. That's our boy, man. King Kong. Because isn't he like he's like the American monster? I know he's not from America, but like
Yeah.
King Kong is like
his
our guy.
passport
Like,
from
he's a
Monster
guy like
Island
we
was
created.
delayed.
Right. He's the guy that we've created, right?
Yeah. Yes, he is the American creation. As I throw that on the screen, I'm throwing on the screen now the ass brain. It's just a map they throw on there. You will not be able to see it in this unless there's not even a stream right now because YouTube's stupid about that. So yeah, if you're seeing this on delay, that's because when I tried to set up the live stream, I was told, oh, you got to activate live streams first. All right, cool, activate. Oh, this step takes 24 hours, and then after that, you'll be able to go instantly live whenever. Like, what? Never had that problem with Prospect or any other channel, so I don't know what the hell that's about. But
Yeah, YouTube's
that,
fucking stuff lately, bro.
yeah, that broke everything. So I'm just gonna have to do this as a premiere. But yeah, on screen, Godzilla ass brain looks to be the same size as his big brain. So twice the smarts of Kong, even if he doesn't have those stupid opposable thumbs, which he kind of does. He just has 4 fingers, but he kind of has a thumb if you see the screen here. Now, he doesn't throw a lot of punches, but they're there. He can grab, so you got to have an opposable thumb to grab.
Sure.
There.
Okay.
Smart guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But, yeah, so I'm cautiously optimistic for this movie. Like, normally I try to avoid trailers because I don't want spoilers. I've made a point of avoiding trailers for years because trailers got really bad about just telling you freaking everything. And you can argue this one kind of does. But like trailers got so bad at one point, they would show you the last shot of the movie.
Right.
Like if King Kong beat Godzilla with that axe hit to the head, that would still be in the trailer. And you're like, why did you show me that? Now it feels cheap. Like now when it happens, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that movie's over. Okay. Like you feel robbed. It's weak. But with this one, as I said before, it's not a love-hate relationship with King of the Monsters. I like it and I appreciate it. I like that they're making it and that they're trying, that they're listening to the feedback and that they're making adjustments based on that. But I don't know. I feel like it's something where they're still not quite seeing what it is people are asking for. They're trying to work around it and do stuff, but there's something blocking there. Maybe they'll eventually get into more capable hands. I think they're fine as what they are. I guess you could argue that outside of the original, you probably don't have like a great Godzilla movie. You have like, yeah, I get it, great to Godzilla fans, right? But I mean like a great movie that happens to be a Godzilla movie. You have like the original, and maybe you could spin it and say like I know Shin Godzilla won the Japanese equivalent to Best Picture at the Oscars. So there's stuff like that, but it's it's different to different cultures. So I don't know. I think that they're trying, and I appreciate that, but I definitely have some problems with how they do stuff. And sometimes I'm like, I feel like you overcorrected a little bit. You were like, oh, you felt like we denied you stuff? Here's literally every fan service thing we can think of, and we won't take the time to develop it. But hey, it's there. We know it. See, we know it too.
Right.
You know what it reminds me of?
What's that?
In X-Men Wolverine Origins. Yes, I'm going there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Deadpool, right?
Right.
Deadpool in that movie. That's almost all you got to say by itself.
Awful.
But in the bonuses on the DVD, like the commentary, you had one of the producers of the movie show you how, and right here, when his eyes darken and it creates kind of those black diamonds around his eyes. Yeah, we know people weren't excited about the redesign, but that's kind of our way. She literally is saying this, like, that's our way of saying, like, yeah, see, we know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you think fans cared about that? That's almost more insulting than anything.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it felt like with all the fan service. And I know that's the most extreme example, but like, that's kind of what it is. Like, just because you're saying, hey, we know about the oxygen destroyer and that's a big thing in Godzilla, well, putting it in the movie with no build-up and then no payoff is not going to make us happy. That just feels like you were trying to, like, pander to us without even putting in the damn work for that.
Right.
So.
That's just frustrating. Yeah. I can see your point to that, man. Now, when watching Godzilla, watching Kong Skull Island, watching King of the Monsters, to me, by far, Kong Skull Island was the best movie. To me.
Right. It's got its
out of
problems.
those three, what was your favorite?
Of those three, so you're saying Godzilla, Kong Island, and the Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Yeah, within this like universe.
I'd probably still pull towards King of the Monsters, then Kong, then 2014. Just because, like, again, and that comes somewhat from my bias, But
Right. Yeah, I get
I'm,
it.
I'm obviously being a huge Godzilla fan. I love King Ghidorah. They made Ghidorah fucking badass, which I loved.
He was pretty cool.
But yeah, I mean, just the scale, right? Those wide shots in the Arctic, and you see him like full wings unfurled, and how he's dwarfing Godzilla, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh shit! Like, and they were. Here's the thing: they were so close to an excellent story as well. The mirror, because here's the thing: in Godzilla films, whether you're talking Japan or American
Yep.
films, the people's plot line has always been separate effectively from what's happening with the monsters. It's like two concurrently running stories. Maybe they'll intersect, but they don't mirror each other. That film tried to do it. They tried to literally take what's her name? Vera Farmiga?
Yeah.
Yeah, they tried to take her character, the mother
Yeah.
to Millie Bobby Brown,
Mhm.
and have her mirror it where like and the trailer even goes as far as to say it like you're a monster, but she's talking to like her mother for doing this thing. Like these limits that they're going to, how she's crossing the line where now she's as bad if not worse for knowingly bringing this on, for helping this come about where it's potentially the destruction of all mankind or whatever, so that Earth can be reset for the sake of weathering climate change or global warming. Like it's that there's something to that, but I don't feel like they fully realized it. Like they had the idea, but it's just not fully developed, and it's like I love that, and you're so close, but you're just missing the mark, and so that with the other issues, I just feel like, all right, here's it's like here's a little award, like you tried. Here you go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm excited for this, man. It comes out
I-
March 31st on HBO Max.
Is that where you're gonna watch it? Are you gonna watch
I-
it on HBO Max, or are you gonna go see it in the theater?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna stick home, man. I got to be careful about that with a 7-month-old daughter and everything. I already had
That's what
COVID
I'm gonna
once,
do.
man.
Yeah.
I already had COVID once. I
Smart.
can't do that again.
Yes, that's smart. Because I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna watch it here at home. I got a nice big TV. Just gonna sit
Yep.
here, watch the whole thing as soon as it releases. And I cannot wait for that. Woo!
I just hope it does better than Wonder Woman 1984.
Oh my god, that was awful. That was awful.
Yeah, that's for another video if we actually dared to go there. But
Mhm.
yeah, that was, and I love the first Wonder Woman movie for like 85% of it.
Same. But for the most part, I think it's I know Hollywood is pretty like as far as like directors and actors
Mhm.
that are upset by Warner Brothers' decision to release all these movies on HBO Max during 2021. But
Right.
I think it's pretty cool. Just me as myself
Yeah.
not being able to go to the theater, because going to the theater these days, I know some of these movies are meant to be seen on the big screen.
Right. There's some movies that it's such an experience that enhances it.
I completely get that. But one of the things that's been annoying about going to the movies lately is just that, like, every time I go to the theater within the last few years, there's always like 2 or 3 or more people just on their phones.
Yeah.
People just talking, texting, playing games, and it's so annoying. And then with, of course, everything that's going on right now, it's just better just to be at home. I'm
Yeah.
glad that they're doing this. I know it sucks for like the directors. I mean, Christopher Nolan was just left Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that I'm able to have that option to watch this at home. New
You-
release
you-
films throughout the course
Yeah.
of the year. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, the accessibility is definitely cool. And to your point, there are some movies where it's like if you see it on the big screen, it does very much so enhance the experience.
Mm-hmm.
But for a lot of movies, you can get it wherever.
Right.
And I don't think you're going to succeed doing a lot of theatrical releases right now if you're putting all your eggs in that basket. And
Yeah.
I think the industry as a whole is going to undergo a radical transformation because of this.
Yep.
Because even with the vaccine, I think it's going to be a slower trickle back into that kind of space regularly. Like, I love movie theaters, I do. But I remember when COVID and all that was really getting going, and they were talking about how, like, oh, well, movie theaters, to try and be safe, they're sanitizing between every showing and doing all this. I'm like, they weren't doing that before.
Right.
They were just leaving the same, spilled Coke and all that on the floor every show. And I can't speak to that. I'm sure there's people who watch this and like worked that, and they're like, hey, we worked hard. Like, no, I get it. I'm not saying you didn't work hard. I'm just saying like
Mhm.
stuff like that. Like you're like, yeah, there is a sanitation thing that can creep into that, especially given the current circumstances.
Oh, absolutely. Our perception of how things should be has changed completely because of COVID. And I don't know if we'll ever go back to just going to the movies. This might just be a thing now. If this is a huge success for Warner Brothers and HBO Max, other studios are going to follow suit too, and just start releasing things on demand, as
Yeah,
well as theater. Like you said, don't put your whole eggs in one basket.
right. Well, we'll see how that goes, but yeah, this was fun breaking this down and everything. Sounds like we're on basically the same page.
Yes, absolutely. Mecha Godzilla, King Kong. It's going down, and I can't wait to watch the movie and then talk about it with you after we've both seen the movie.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to run this back for a review as well when that time comes. So Cheap Pop is like my secondary channel. Obviously, Prospect is my main. But I figured out early on with with that's so sports heavy and everything like that, that if I do pop culture content like I like to do, whether it's a film review or analysis or trailer breakdown, kind of like this, it just doesn't have the same legs, and I think it's just because it's going to the wrong audience predominantly. So I created this secondary channel, sub channel, just
Yes,
to
smart.
kind of work as an outlet for that,
Mhm.
and we're gonna try and kick out some content to it every now and then. Like I said to you before, standing invitation whenever you want to jump on and talk. I know you love film as well, and we definitely have some good conversations sometimes on our different theories about things.
Yes, sir. And if anybody's watching this on the premiere right now, thank you guys so much for coming through. Appreciate that, and don't forget to smack that like and hit
Yeah,
that subscribe because it's really important, especially when growing a new channel. And Derek, I always love talking with you, man, and wish you the best success on this new venture, man. This is pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
appreciate it. But yeah, so that'll do it for our time, I guess. Check out Josh's channel as well, the Sports Fury. If somehow you're not already aware of it, you guys are doing awesome though. 123,000 subscribers. At this point, they probably are wondering who the hell you're talking to. but
Appreciate it. Thank
but
you.
yeah, so hit the like, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, guys. I don't know. I was about to go into my tagline, but it doesn't really apply for this channel. I don't have an outro for this channel, so I'll just say peace.